I want you to take a second and just think about your social media feed. Like if you pull out your phone and scroll right now, how many completely impossible superhero-like physiques pop up on your screen?
Oh, it's everywhere. It seems like everyone suddenly looks like they were carved out of marble or something.
Right. And the reality is we are currently in the middle of a massive steroid epidemic in the fitness world. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, glad to be here. And, today we definitely aren't acting as the health police. That's not the goal.
No, not at all. Instead, we're looking at the actual blood work, the brain scans, and some deeply candid confessions from a lifetime natural bodybuilder and fitness educator. We want to figure out exactly what happens when a needle pierces the skin.
Exactly. Because the line between what is naturally attainable and what is chemically induced has just been completely blurred lately. We really want to cut through the half-truths that get pushed by fitness influencers and uncover the stark biological and psychological realities of using performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, so whether you are a seasoned gym goer who practically lives by the squat rack, or someone just starting to work out, or, frankly, even if you just find human biology fascinating.
Which it is.
It really is. Understanding this massive gap between natural and enhanced
Yeah.
is going to completely change how you view the human body.
100%. But, before we even touch on the dangers, we have to establish why people take these drugs in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
And the answer is pretty simple. They work incredibly well.
They do. The math on this is actually staggering when you really lay it out. Our source points out that if you take, say, 5 grams of creatine every single day for a year,
Okay.
and you train hard, you might add about 2 pounds of extra muscle.
Just 2 pounds.
Yeah, about 2 pounds.
Right.
Now, if you take a normal bodybuilding dose of steroids for that same year, you're looking at adding about 20 pounds of extra muscle.
Wow.
Depending on genetics, maybe even more.
Wait, is that 20 pounds just from, like, injecting the compound and sitting on the couch? Or is that 20 pounds assuming they are practically living in the gym?
Well, that assumes they're training. But the chemical advantage is so profound that even a subpar training routine on an enhanced cycle will vastly outperform a perfectly optimized natural routine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The nitrogen retention and the protein synthesis rates are just completely supercharged.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really understand that difference, we have to look at the testosterone gap.
Yeah, the blood work.
Right. Our source, who is a lifetime natural lifter, got his blood work done. His natural testosterone level was around 485 nanograms per deciliter.
Which is right in the middle of the normal range.
Right. Then he looks at the blood work of an openly enhanced bodybuilder. You would think the enhanced guy is, I don't know, maybe double or triple that.
Not even close. The enhanced lifter's blood work literally maxed out the testing equipment.
Maxed it out.
Yeah, so the standard assay caps out at 10,000 nanograms per deciliter, and his levels were higher than that. The machine literally could not read how much testosterone was in his blood.
That is insane. It's like playing a video game on standard difficulty where you have to grind for every single level versus just opening the developer console and turning on God mode.
That's a great analogy.
The gap is astronomical. But this brings up something that has been bothering me. Fitness influencers are actually admitting to their steroid use more than ever right now.
They are, yeah.
Shouldn't that transparency be a good thing? Shouldn't it help natural lifters set realistic expectations for themselves instead of constantly chasing a chemical illusion?
You would logically think so, right? Like, if you know your favorite influencer is enhanced, you should just adjust your standards. But psychologically, that transparency completely backfires.
How so?
Well, these influencers are only partially transparent. They admit they're on steroids, sure, and then they show off these massive, flawless gains, but they hide all the negative side effects. So your logical takeaway isn't, oh, I should adjust my expectations. Your takeaway becomes, wow, steroids are amazing. It inadvertently acts as a commercial for the drugs.
It's basically an advertisement disguised as honesty.
Exactly.
So to figure out why that steroids are amazing conclusion is so incredibly misleading, we can't just look at the Instagram photos. We have to look at what actually happens under the hood.
Right into the biology.
Right. What is the actual mechanism when someone injects this stuff?
It is a genuinely fascinating biological process. Let's trace the mechanics of a common compound like testosterone and anthate.
Okay, sure.
It's essentially a synthetic testosterone molecule with a carboxy ester attached to it. They dissolve this in a carrier oil, usually just a vegetable oil, along with an aromatic compound like benzyl benzoate.
What does that do?
It acts as a preservative to stop bacterial growth in the vial.
Okay, wait, so why the carboxyester and the oil? Why not just inject pure testosterone straight into the bloodstream?
Because if you injected pure water-soluble testosterone, your body would process it and flush it out in a matter of hours.
Exactly, I see.
Yeah, you'd have this massive spike and then an immediate crash. By attaching the carboxyester, they make the molecule fat-soluble.
Right.
So when you inject it deep into the muscle, it forms a little elongated bubble or a depot of oil that just squeezes between your muscle fibers. It sits there, slowly leaching into your bloodstream over several days or even weeks.
That makes a lot of sense. But how does a molecule just floating around in your blood actually tell your bicep to get bigger?
Okay, so once it hits the bloodstream, enzymes called esterases come along and cleave off that carboxy group.
Which frees up the active testosterone.
Exactly. Binding proteins then carry it to your cells. The testosterone passes right through the cell membrane into the cytoplasm, where it binds to an androgen receptor.
Just goes straight in.
Straight in. That receptor then physically moves into the cell's nucleus and binds to your DNA, literally flipping the genetic switch that says, synthesize more protein, grow.
Okay, but when you do a bicep curl naturally, the grow signal is localized, right? It's just in the bicep.
Correct.
But when you inject synthetic hormones into the bloodstream, it's systemic. It's like giving a chaotic rock band a VIP all-access pass to a hotel.
Oh, I like this.
Right, you want them to just stay in the VIP room, which is your chest or your shoulders, and play their music. But because they have an all-access pass, they wander the halls and absolutely trash the other rooms in the building.
That is painfully accurate.
Namely, the heart and the brain. So if the biological signal being sent is just grow, how does that physically alter the structure of an organ like the heart?
What's fascinating here is that the body is covered in androgen receptors. Your heart is a muscle, so it receives that exact same grow command.
Wow.
Yeah. Specifically, it targets the left ventricle, which does the heavy lifting of pumping oxygenated blood to the body. Now, a bigger heart sounds like an athletic advantage, right?
It does sound like it would be.
But this causes a condition called left ventricular hypertrophy. The muscle wall gets incredibly thick, but it grows inward, which shrinks the actual volume of the chamber.
Wait, so the chamber holds less blood?
Yes. And because the muscle wall is so thick and stiff, it suffers from diastolic dysfunction.
Meaning what?
It means it can't relax properly between beats to fill up with blood in the first place. You're forcing the organ to work against its own unnatural bulk, which severely raises the risk of heart failure.
That is terrifying. If the heart is taking this kind of structural damage from a systemic grow signal, what is happening when that same chemical signal crosses the blood-brain barrier?
The neurological impact is genuinely alarming. Our sources highlight a 2021 study that took 200 weightlifters, half of them natural, half enhanced, and used 3D MRI scans to look at their brains.
What did they find?
The natural lifters had brain ages that perfectly matched their chronological age, but the enhanced lifters had a significantly larger brain age gap. Their brains were physically aging at a highly accelerated rate.
And the collateral damage isn't just structural aging, right? Because the psychological side effects sound brutal. The source notes that steroid use causes severe compound-dependent anxiety.
Yeah, meaning the specific chemical you take dictates the severity of the neurotoxicity.
Right. So a compound like trenbolone causes wildly more anxiety and paranoia than something milder, like primobolan. And over time, heavy steroid use has even been shown to degrade overall intelligence and IQ.
So, you are trading your systemic long-term longevity and cognitive function for localized short-term muscle.
But an aging brain and a stiff heart are inevitable. They don't show up in a bathroom mirror selfie. The trap that keeps users totally hooked seems to be this immediate physical and psychological cascade.
It absolutely is, and it starts with profound body dysmorphia. People take these drugs expecting the chemistry to just, override their genetics and instantly make them look like top-tier professional bodybuilders.
Like Chris Bumstead or someone.
Exactly. And when that doesn't happen, they push the doses higher. The real trap snaps shut when they try to cycle off the drugs.
Because the second you come off, you lose a massive chunk of the size you just put on.
Yeah, ton of it.
The muscles dump all that intracellular water and glycogen, and you actually feel smaller than you did before you started. It makes it nearly impossible psychologically to not just reach right back for the needle.
And while you're locked in that endless cycle, the hormonal domino effect is just wreaking havoc on your endocrine system. When you flood your body with artificial testosterone, an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts a significant portion of it into DHT, or dihydrotestosterone.
And what does DHT do?
DHT aggressively binds to receptors in your scalp, shrinking hair follicles. That is the mechanism behind why you see so many bodybuilders going completely bald in their 20s.
And the conversion goes the other direction too, right? Because the body is absolutely swimming in synthetic androgens, aggressive aromatization is almost guaranteed.
Unavoidable for most.
The aromatase enzyme converts that excess testosterone straight into estrogen. And that's why you see guys requiring surgical removal of breast tissue or gyno in their early 20s.
And it gets worse. The body's feedback loop is incredibly sensitive. The hypothalamus senses all this artificial hormone and signals the pituitary gland to stop stimulating the testes.
So it shuts down?
The entire HPTA axis shuts down. Your body thinks, great, I don't need to manufacture this anymore. So your testicles physically shrink to half their size.
Oh, man.
And for many users, that natural production never boots back up. They are tethered to lifetime testosterone injections just to maintain basic physiological function.
Not to mention the skin. The androgen receptors in your sebaceous glands go into absolute overdrive, pumping out massive amounts of sebum.
Right, which leads to severe, painful cystic acne across the back and shoulders.
But that assumes the chemicals they are injecting are pure, which in most cases they absolutely aren't.
That is a critical point. In places like the US and Canada, these drugs aren't coming from pharmaceutical clean rooms. They're coming from underground laboratories, or UGLs. You are basically injecting a bathtub brew mixed by an anonymous source.
It is like taking out a massive, high-interest biological loan. The muscles are the cash you get up front, but the interest payments are absolutely brutal.
That's a really good way to frame it.
And this leads to my question. If people generally know about the baldness or the acne, why don't we hear more about the underground lab disasters? Our source talks about a user whose quad swelled half a foot out to the side because of a massive immune response to bad gear.
Yeah, that story was rough.
The doctors had to physically cut his leg open to drain an enormous abscess. Why isn't that reality check on social media?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's because vanity dictates the algorithm. Influencers are selling an illusion of flawless perfection. A weeping, surgically drained infection totally shatters that illusion.
Yeah, he said doesn't get many likes.
Exactly. And the same goes for the psychological torment. People casually throw around the term roid rage, assuming it just means a guy getting overly aggressive at a bar.
But the reality is a constant stream of highly disturbing thoughts. One user described it as having a war movie playing in your head every single second you're awake, and even while you sleep. It's a living neurological nightmare.
It highlights a very dangerous disconnect. In this industry, the aesthetic pursuit of looking fit has been completely separated from actual physiological health.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because people aren't stupid. They hear about the abscesses and the heart failure, so they try to find a loophole. They try to find a safe way to use, often hiding behind the term TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah, they convince themselves that a low dose is a safe dose. And the first 6 to 8 weeks of any cycle, even a low one, are universally described as the honeymoon phase. Your dopamine is spiking, your energy is limitless, and you feel like you are going through puberty all over again.
But having the raging, uncontrollable libido of a 16-year-old is highly distracting when you are an adult with a career, a mortgage, and actual responsibilities.
It's exhausting.
Your executive function is totally hijacked. And the physical injuries during this phase are brutal because your strength outpaces your biology. You might add 50 pounds to your bench press in just 6 weeks.
And this is a devastating biomechanical mismatch. Anabolic steroids drastically increase myofibrillar hypertrophy, meaning the actual muscle fibers grow rapidly.
Right.
But they simultaneously inhibit the synthesis of certain types of collagen. So your muscles get incredibly strong, capable of moving huge weight, but your tendons and ligaments become stiffer and more brittle.
Oh, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is. They simply cannot adapt fast enough. That is why you see bodybuilders suffering these catastrophic injuries, tearing pecs and biceps right off the bone. The connective tissue just snaps under the sheer force of the enhanced muscle.
And we aren't just talking about torn muscles either. We have to talk about the lifespan tax. There was this striking paper published in 2024 that followed over 1,000 steroid users for 11 years. Their average age was 27.
Such a young group.
Yeah. And they compared them to 60,000 non-users of the exact same demographic. Over that decade, 2.8% of the steroid users died, compared to just 1% of the non-users.
That is nearly triple the mortality rate in a young, otherwise healthy adult population. It's a staggering excess death rate that proves the systemic toll these drugs take.
But surely if you have a doctor and you're only taking a small dose, like 150 to 200 milligrams of what they call sports TRT, it's basically safe, right? It's practically medicine at that point.
Well, this raises an important question about what the word safe actually means in this context. Our source uses a perfect analogy, racing a car. You can design a race car with crumple zones, wear a fireproof suit, and put on a carbon fiber helmet.
Okay.
That makes racing safer. But driving a car at 200 miles per hour is never safe. Doing steroids healthier means constant blood work, EKG scans, and a medical doctor on retainer checking your lipids. You can make it safer than injecting bathtub chemicals from an underground lab, but it was never safe.
Especially when we were talking about young people. Teenagers are constantly asking when they should hop on gear. Using these exogenous hormones before age 25 permanently stunts your brain's frontal lobe development.
Yep.
And it prematurely fuses your growth plates. If you start taking gear at 16, you are stopping your height potential right there. You might end up being a short king purely because you got impatient for muscle.
The medical consensus is absolute on this. You should not even entertain the conversation until you are at least 25 years old.
Yeah.
Andy, you have 10 solid years of natural, highly structured training under your belt.
Which brings us to the core issue. If the risks are this astronomically high, and the safe route is essentially an illusion, why do so many young lifters feel they absolutely have to use gear?
It almost always comes down to this myth of the natty limit.
Right, the natural limit.
Yeah, the false belief that they have maxed out their natural genetic potential and have nowhere else to go. The people train for like 2 or 3 years, hit a plateau, and instantly assume their genetics are tapped out.
But our source, who has been training naturally his entire life, is currently running a fascinating experiment with researchers at McMaster University in Canada to completely debunk this.
And the parameters of this experiment are intense.
They really are. He wants to see if he can still build muscle naturally this deep into his career. So he's instituting a 100% effort protocol. He is taking the last set of every single exercise to true technical failure, not just when it gets hard, but when the muscle physically cannot move the weight.
That's brutal.
He's not skipping a single workout, and he's tracking every single macro and calorie perfectly, using macro factor to ensure his nutrition is mathematically precise.
And the results speak for themselves. He's already seeing solid gains and putting on noticeable size. This proves a massive point. He hadn't actually hit his natural limit previously, even as a seasoned fitness professional.
Right.
If he hadn't hit it, the odds that the average 22-year-old in the gym has hit theirs are practically zero.
So what does this all mean? It reminds me of someone complaining that their car is too slow and they need to buy a bigger engine, but they haven't even pushed the gas pedal to the floor yet. How much of this steroid epidemic is just pure impatience disguised as hitting a genetic wall?
A tremendous amount of it. True, 100% natural optimization is incredibly rare. Most people who think they need steroids are simply not being diligent. Their diet isn't dialed in, their sleep architecture is poor, and their training intensity is entirely lacking.
They just aren't doing the work.
Exactly. Before anyone considers trading their cardiovascular health and their longevity for a few inches on their arms, they have to honestly evaluate if they have actually pushed the gas pedal to the floor naturally.
It is a phenomenal reality check. So to wrap up this deep dive, the truth is steroids absolutely work. They work better than almost anything else. But they demand a massive systemic tax from your body. You are paying for those biceps with an aging brain, a stiffened, struggling heart, a brutal psychological cycle of dysmorphia, and a demonstrably shortened lifespan.
And, you're dealing with all of that while risking terrifying infections, permanent hair loss, and the complete shutdown of your natural endocrine system.
So the next time you are scrolling through social media and you pause on that completely flawless, superhuman physique, I want you to remember the unseen costs. Remember the crushing anxiety, the surgical removals, the biological debt that person is paying every single day. Focus on maximizing your own natural potential first, because your body can do incredible things if you actually learn how to push it correctly.
It leaves us with something critical to think about regarding where we go from here.
It really does. It leaves us with this thought. If our daily visual diet is entirely saturated with artificially enhanced, chemically altered physiques, how long until our society's baseline definition of a normal, healthy human body becomes a biological impossibility? An impossibility that literally requires risking your life to achieve.